Thank you so much for talking to us about the budget. One of the things that you are trying to do with this budget is address housing and homelessness.
That's right.
Tell me what you're working on.
So what we're working on is building on the last few years of a lot of new state investment. This year we want it to really pay off. And that's actually, we had a special housing meeting, a session that went until almost 9 p.m. in the evening. Folks from all over the state with a focus on Bernalillo County and the city of Albuquerque. We know it's our largest community, the largest number of unhoused people, including from places all across New Mexico who end up in Albuquerque. So this year we wanted to, as a committee, I think as a body, really say, with our really strong resources, what can we do to challenge local communities to come together, present a bold plan, a plan that we can work to really help fund and build on their collaboration. And that's what we're looking at in our budget.
So you've got two kind of similar but different ideas here, and one is homelessness, and the other is, kind of affordable housing for other folks. So let me ask you this: in what ways are you trying to help solve the homelessness problem we're seeing?
So specifically, there is $40 million that for transitional housing and to basically help unhoused New Mexicans in Bernalillo County and Albuquerque find housing. This is working with the city of Albuquerque and Bernalillo County on ongoing projects that they need some additional funding to add more capacity. And so sort of a big part of that is focused on specifically for those unhoused individuals.
But Albuquerque is the most visible element of homelessness in this state, but we're seeing it in small communities outside of Albuquerque, all over the state. How are you going to deal with that? So
by also having funding that's available for other parts of the state, both through the Mortgage Finance Authority, also in the budget that will go directly to local communities through the DFA here at the state level. So sort of all avenues. We're working closely with communities too to help them build a continuum of care so that they have the right resources, the right approaches. They take down some of the barriers that may make it harder to build new housing or to create that housing stock. Because one of the reasons that we see an increase in unhoused New Mexicans is sort of a lessening of sort of low and middle income rents, right? If somebody was just right at the edge spending a lot of their monthly budget on rent, and then that rent goes up quite a bit because there's not enough housing, there's pressure sort of from other folks looking to get into that housing, those folks could become unhoused. So you have to sort of half and half in our budget at the end of the day when it comes to the focus on Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. Half focus specifically on transitional housing and getting folks who are currently unhoused, getting them into housing. Another part of that, though, is focused on sort of the wider housing options, affordable housing options, new construction.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about. We've got some UNM seniors in the room with us right now. They're about to graduate and go into some entry-level jobs. And when you look at housing prices, Albuquerque's bad, Santa Fe's worse, Taos is terrible. Housing prices are really high all over the state, and there's a massive difference between what a recent college graduate can afford to buy or pay in rent and what those places are going for. What are you doing to address these recent college graduates, young people looking to buy their first house?
Simply put, we need to build more housing. We need more options at different affordability levels. That is the biggest constraint that exists in New Mexico right now. Sometimes, frankly often, local zoning laws make it really hard to build new housing, maybe to repurpose existing housing for new, for more folks or for entry-level folks.
Because what we're talking about is they want single-family homes instead of townhouses or apartments.
Yeah. Well, it varies, but I think broadly, yes. There is sort of one specific component of housing that's been focused on, excluding others, making it harder for folks to build, harder for people to develop. harder for folks who are want to provide more housing options. Communities, including the community that I come from in Las Cruces, New Mexico, making it easier to build, working with developers, private sector and nonprofit, to create more options, in some cases using state funding to help things like infrastructure, utilities, things of that nature. So we need to get the rules right, I'd say, as folks are coming in, encouraging more options, more freedom in how you build, where you build, what kind of things that we can build. That's something we very much want to encourage as a state. And as part of that encouragement, when folks step up and do that, when local communities take that step to make it easier to live in those communities, we're going to have funding and resources as a state to help support them.
The Democrats are in power here. You've got a lot of money. You're the big guy in the room. Are you running roughshod over local communities that made these rules for a reason?
We're not overriding any local rules. We're hearing from local communities. In fact, when we had the hearing that we hosted 2.5, 3 weeks ago, we had folks from different parts of Bernalillo County and the city of Albuquerque all wanting the same thing: more housing options, state support to get to that, both from sort of upfront funding as well as helping create the very best rules and that kind of thing. But there's no superseding at this point of local rules. Frankly, we're hearing a lot from residents all across the state. The community I come from in Las Cruces, New Mexico, they chose just recently to make it easier to build. And I think broadly, you gave the example of sort of folks moving into the workforce, whether that's out of high school, associate's degrees or a 4-year degree. If they don't have a place to live in New Mexico, no matter how much they love it, they may have to look elsewhere. That's a loss for us all.
And the need is pretty dire for more housing right now. The situation in many of our communities with homelessness is really bad right now. How quickly will we see effects if your plan succeeds?
So the budget goes into effect July 1, 2025. It's going to depend a lot on local implementation, how fast folks are ready to roll. I think we're working and really see a great deal of collaborative work, in this case between the city of Albuquerque, Bernalillo County, who have come together and presented a joint plan. And so I think the expectation is, particularly for some of the early money that's meant to help get folks off of the streets, that's continuing projects that have already begun. So I think we should start to see some of that work in a very short time frame.
Representative Brown, you are on the House Budget Committee. You've been working on this. We just talked to Representative Small about some housing priorities. Kind of a big push for Albuquerque and Bernalillo County, and then a little bit for the rest of the state. You represent Carlsbad. How do you feel about those housing priorities that are in the budget now?
So I do represent Carlsbad plus Southern Lee County, and we have housing issues, shortage that's quite large actually, and so I think we need to do something to help with that. I am concerned that most of the funding is going to Albuquerque and Las Cruces and not enough to the rural areas of the state, but it is a problem that is statewide.
And how are you feeling about the budget? We're expecting it to hit the floor maybe this weekend, maybe early next week. How are you feeling about the process so far? What do you like in it, and what are you not liking so much?
What I don't like about it, and I'll start with that, is so much of the budget building is done even before we come into session. I think the staff that does this work works really hard year-round, and I really appreciate all of their efforts. But I believe that the legislators should have more say into where the money is spent. And again, the cake is almost already baked when we get here. We make some changes here and there. I have seen an improvement in this, however, this year, where we're seeing a little more input allowed and actually taken into consideration. So that's a positive.
That is. Roads are a really big deal, especially in the southeastern part of the state. Are you looking at more money for roads?
I believe we're not spending enough on roads. We've had a very minor increase. Our budget is about $1.3 billion. It's creeping up a little bit from year to year, but our needs are so great. We have at least $5 billion of unmet need in our transportation system. So I wish we could take more of the new money, the new revenue, largely due to oil and gas proceeds, and put more of that into roads. That is a priority for me and for my district.
Yeah. And we're seeing, on the show this week, we're talking about a new alcohol tax that's being proposed and a baby bonds project. We've been talking to Democrats so far about this being a moment for them to invest in long-term change, to invest in the future. But we're also talking about creating a new tax on booze and about investing a semi-significant chunk of money in these baby bonds programs. How is your philosophy similar or different?
I'm not in favor of raising taxes, even if it's on alcohol. On that one, I have some concerns. The baby bonds, I am not convinced that that is a good investment at this time. I would rather take that money and put it into education, so we're making sure our students can read at grade level, do math calculations at grade level. That is where I would invest that money. That provides a future for them to make a living, support themselves and their families. So that's where I would put that money.
Now we hear this pushback, like spending more money on education that doesn't make a difference. We have to work smarter, not harder. Do you agree with that?
I've been here now for 14 years, going into start of my 8th term, and I have not seen the improvements that I wanted to see, especially in literacy. And so we need to spend what we need to spend. There are some bright lights on the horizon with some of the programs. We're looking at the science of literacy, structured programs for that. I'm seeing some good things, but it's a long time coming, and people are impatient. We want to see results now with our students. So yes, I'm supportive. I wish we could kind of revamp things so we're really doing the basics.
Now, when it comes to money, education is the biggest part of it, right? But we're also looking at public safety. Are you comfortable with the amount of money and the kind of ideas that are emerging around crime and public safety?
I don't think we're doing enough to combat crime. The Department of Public Safety has asked for some money to do a special program that helps them discern where the crimes are happening and then respond quickly and so forth. And they've asked for, I think it was, I want to say $6 million, and they were given maybe a third of that. And if we're serious about fighting crime, I think that's a good place. They know this is going to help.
Representative Serrato, thank you so much for talking to us about baby bonds.
Absolutely.
Now, officially what we're talking about is called a Children's Future Fund. A lot of what we've been talking about so far this session is, hey, we've got money now, let's put it in a thing. Now, what is the goal here? What are baby bonds and what do you want to do?
Yeah, so baby bonds is a newer concept that a lot of states are taking to that essentially builds trust funds for the kids in the state. New Mexico is unique. We have a really wide income gap that exists for our families, a lot of folks that are on Medicaid, and a lot of need in our state exists. So we want to essentially equip our kids with investing for their future. I think we've done, free lunches for kids, the working families tax credit, free college. There are things that are active right now that are changing their futures, but allowing them to dream really big and do big things that are helpful and scary, like buying a house, like getting an education, investing in a small business. We want to give them the ability to do that. So what the Future Fund does is it would start with a certain amount of money and grow over time. And in 18 years, the first kids would be able to start withdrawing from it, the amount that is theirs, again, for education, buying a home, investing in a small business, investing in general, and letting them kind of build into these big expenses. And what the fund would do is allow that in perpetuity over time. This bill in particular creates the fund itself, puts it in the treasurer's office, allows a state investment officer to keep investing into it, but it also creates a task force. It'll be headed by the state investment officer and the treasurer, along with community experts that understand what New Mexico needs right now, what is equity in New Mexico today, tomorrow, and really build the guardrails around it so that we know who's benefiting from this fund are truly New Mexico's kids.
Now, we had the treasurer on our show in the fall to talk about this project, but she was talking about starting with $50 million, and you're talking about $5 million. How is this different from what our viewers saw in the fall?
I think there's a lot of similarities here. This is an important concept that a lot of different folks are coming from different perspectives on. For us, we want to build it transparently through the legislative process. And so creating that task force to build out reports, work with our legislative finance committee, work with our legislative council services, again, to make sure we're building something that works for the legislature, fits New Mexico statutes and our laws and our constitution. And so we want to set that up first before we start doing larger investments into the fund.
So what you're talking about is setting up a group of people who would figure things out, like who's eligible for this.
That's right.
And in other states, we've seen these kind of programs that are offered to folks who were on Medicaid when they had the baby. Is that one of the things that you're considering?
I think that's one of the populations that should be served by this. But in New Mexico, middle class is a very broad term. And so living paycheck to paycheck remains middle class. You can own a home, but still be dependent on that month's paycheck. You're not putting aside a $529 for your kid. You don't have the money for retirement. And so again, giving these kids hope. And I'll give you an example. When I went to college, I would walk with folks on campus, and there would be buildings named after their family members. And that's an incredible benefit. When I left college, I had mounds of debt. Now, I still said, hey, this is a worthwhile experiment to be, this much in debt when I get out. But that scares a lot of poor kids away for a lot of reasons. We want to make sure that middle class and folks on Medicaid across the board can really dream big and invest in themselves in the future.
Now, 529 programs, a lot of people do try to set those up for their kids, but they're really specifically targeted to education. And this task force you're talking about would decide exactly how the baby bond money could be spent. Education is one of those things. What are some of the other things?
Absolutely. So buying a home in New Mexico, again, a lot of folks nowadays need to rely on family members to help them get that down payment. It could be for down payment assistance. It could be for investing in a small business that you're building in New Mexico or beyond. But I believe we want it to be in New Mexico. Investments in general to help that grow. They also potentially can hold on to it for longer, so they can use it for their retirement when they get older. There's a pilot program going on, I believe in Albuquerque, where some of it is held aside so they can continue to use it for retirement.
But we're not like, hey, congratulations, you're 18, here's 20 grand, go have a party.
Absolutely not. And this is a big thing that we want the task force to also look at. What came up in committee and what we've already discussed is this idea of having financial literacy programs as well. One thing me and the treasurer worked on last summer was investing in a symposium on baby bonds, on the Future Fund, but also investing in financial literacy. We do see these ideas as tied, but again, I want to trust the task force to look at financial literacy access to, in Clovis is different than what it is in Santa Fe. So what does that mean? What does that look like that these kids can actually access those funds? And how do they withdraw it? Is it like a Roth IRA where, at a certain point you get this money, or does it always stay with the state until you're ready to withdraw? And we made it flexible. So, again, depending on how the market moves, that we're able to move with it.
Now I'm imagining in my head someone at home watching this saying, what? We're going to give these people thousands of dollars, only some people, only under some circumstances. But I work really hard. I make more money than that. Where's my $6,000? Does this amount to a redistribution of wealth to only certain people?
See, I would argue that we actually have one of the broader perspectives on the Future Funds bill itself. In other states, they limit it only, as you mentioned, to Medicaid recipients at the time of their birth. We keep it pretty broad because we want to make sure that it is accessible to as many people as possible. And it really is for the kids that are born after 2025, as stipulated in the bill. This is really important to us, that as many kids have that hope for their future as possible. It doesn't benefit me. It wouldn't benefit my kids because they're already born. But I want to make sure that the future of New Mexico keeps building, keeps dreaming big. And I don't say dreaming, investing big in our state. That we have the workforce that is bringing jobs to our state.